What is up, all you GBA type people? This is Tom with my co-host Tony Danza,
Hey guys, Danza here.
and we are back for your week three or four, three, three. Yes,
Three.
three power rankings. This week, not as haxy as last week, thank God.
Oh yes.
Um, but we did very much so enjoy watching most of the matches, and we hope that the format for this week will be a little bit different. We're gonna be cutting up the power rankings into three groups of four, as to kind of keep viewers a little more engaged, keep them around for longer, and you know, work our way up to the top rather than just show you the entire list all at once. So hopefully that's how this looks. If it doesn't, I'm gonna look real stupid. But in any case, starting from the bottom, we have Nips, good old Nips, 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 Red Rockies. Danza?
Yeah, Nips hasn't moved at all. He seems to be actually in a worse place compared to last week. Okay, he completely wasted, what, 10, 15 minutes on the Snorlax and Mega Venusaur thing with John. I thought that was just a waste of time. It seemed like he didn't even have a plan against Mega Venusaur. Didn't seem like he planned for Entei. I really thought it was pretty obvious that John was going to bring both of them. I'm not seeing any planning, little if any planning on the part of Nips, and I'm sorry to say it. If he could, maybe he's planning for hours on end, but he's certainly not doing a good job of showing it because he made a ton of misplays in that game. The biggest one, the sub with Halucha. 6th gen has been out since late 2013, is that correct?
Yeah, actually.
That's what I thought. And Hyper Voice has been going behind subs since late 2013. I don't really think that previous gen experience is really an excuse to not know that by now. Unless he's never faced a Sylveon, in which case.
That's
Oh,
bizarre.
yeah, that's just. I just think Nips made so many misplays this week. He didn't seem like he was prepared, and John got a very, very easy 5-0 given to him. And I'm sorry to say that because I don't know. It's anyways. What are your thoughts?
I was gonna try and bring up Nips's channel to see when he started that channel, see when he started uploading videos, but I can't be bothered. If anyone wants to tell me, when he did start, or if he should know better, or we're idiots, whatever, go for it. Nips, I think that I agree because in the beginning, first like whatever, what was it, 15 turns or
10,
whatever?
15 minutes, whatever it
Exactly,
was.
yeah. Well, not sped up, of course. But yeah, you're basically that first bit between Mega Venusaur, Raikou, and Snorlax. That exchange was like totally unnecessary. If anything, it was a failsafe to ensure that he didn't let John take an early lead. But on the same token, it wasn't getting him anywhere except having him get chip damage on the Mega Venusaur. Maybe a para here or there, but that's what John had Raikou for. And then once Snorlax died, what was his plan really for Mega Venusaur? Yeah, Roserade did, take a didn't take that much damage from Mega Venusaur's dual stabs because of its def stat, but outside of that, that whole bit was just unnecessary. It was ridiculous. So, and then like you said, the sub behind Hawlucha, yeah, okay, he realized it right as he clicked to stay in and go for the acrobatics to get that good chunk of damage off. But that's not the point. It was the quick thinking. It was the not sitting there and waiting to press the button. He is doing what Kyle did in season 1 and 2. He would just play as quickly as possible, not thinking, just go, just always just go, 180 miles an hour, no stops. That's not how you no, that's not good playing. And then especially the last part, him switching Xamin as a something to take the hyper voice rather than at just being a revenge killer. That's not what you do with Zam, especially Sash revenge killer or Zam. I no, sorry, that just wasn't a good play to me, especially when John had no reason to go for protect. The only thing I can really say about Nips is Cellar Dweller. You can you can plan and plan and plan, but if you don't plan, if your plan doesn't come to fruition and you play poorly, there's no reason to even plan before that.
Yeah,
Bottom line.
I just gotta add on to. I really feel like there's a big difference between, and this sounds sad so far. There's a huge difference between 12 and 11. 12 being Nips, 11 on my list being Steve. I'll talk about Steve in a minute, but I just feel like Steve is doing that much better at predicting his opponent's team and preparing in advance that there's actually a huge difference there, even though it may only be one number apart. So it feels like Nips is kind of just distant from everyone else, and I hope that he can get back into it next week. I hope he plans well, and I'd like to see Nips get a victory because it's kind of sad to see him so distant right now.
Yeah, that.
Alrighty. I think both our number 11s were Steve, correct?
Steve, yeah.
Yep,
Steve.
that is correct. Alright, what are your thoughts?
Okay, Steve. Steve, I've been making a point of watching Steve's team building videos just to hear him kind of break down what he thinks the other person's going to bring when he highlights the names. That's something I used to do, where I would take the mons that I think the opponent would bring, and I'd star them out on a piece of paper and kind of figure what the best puzzle pieces for them against me would be. I like that. I really do. I think Steve did a great job. He predicted 5 of 6, or if not all 6 of Shady's team. And outside, and then even from there, he had a great plan going in. He was going to use Miltank as a mon that would basically nullify all of Superior, because he knew how much of a threat it was against his team. And then he had a good plan with his walls, being Arcanine for Scissor and then Suicune for everything else. That was the first part. Let's talk about the practicality part. He did none of that. He used Suicune as a wall as a switch in for Scissor. That's not how you use that when you have Arcanine, basically the second best wall for Scissor outside of Zapdos. And then from there, he just kind of played recklessly. He let Landorus die too soon just to get a free switch. He was kind of forcing a lot of his plays. Yeah, the revenge kill was with Crawdon, kind of let him hold on, but the second he decided to let Miltank die against Garchomp in order to get rocks up, that's when the game went to crap. That's when he allowed Shady to get Superior in for free, go for that first Leaf Storm, and from there, it was over. That's it.
All right. Yeah, I'm definitely pretty much in agreement there. Arcanine would have been a much better play against Scizor instead of Suicune. He shouldn't have let Landorus die early.
Definitely.
And he should have switched into, what else did he have available?
I would think Suicune could take that hit.
Yeah, I mean, that was probably his best option.
It's a melodic, right?
If he didn't want to do that, then he could have gone to maybe even Miltank if he had Heal Bell, especially. I just thought that was kind of poor playing on his part. I would have rather seen Miltank try to Toxic it or something like that. Since he knew it was competitive,
yeah,
Toxic would have been a much better option if he had Toxic, and I don't know why Miltank wouldn't have Toxic. Steve made so many reckless, poor plays this week. The man gets an A for effort. Every week he's putting in the work, and I am not even questioning that whatsoever. Kudos to him for that. That's, like I said, the difference between him and Nips right now. But it's just on the field, he can't execute right now, and I want to see it turn around because there are flashes of good plays in previous weeks, especially when I say, "Yes, Steve, you got it," and then the next turn he does something else, and I'm like, facepalm. Steve, just settle down, make some more safe plays. I feel like if you just made a few more safer plays, you'd be a lot better off. There's just no need to make as many predictions.
Yeah, I'm one to preach for middle ground plays. There's never a reason where you should give up momentum that you have, or if you have your opponent on the ropes, for the sake of a daring play that might not get you the result that you really think it would if they have the proper options to choose. Now, that sounds convoluted, but if you break down what I just said, it makes sense. Don't make that necessary play if you don't need to. Middle ground is maybe sometimes better than safe, but safe is sometimes better than everything else, because what are you really losing?
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, at that point, you're just facing a superior sweep or a pinch sweep if that's how you're going to play.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's it.
All right, I'm done with this. I'm done talking about Steve. Do you have any final remarks?
Nope. Just
Alrighty. I think we're ready to move on.
Next up, we deviate just a little bit.
Yep. I had Top at number 10, and Tom had Geo at number 10.
Who you want to
Alrighty,
talk
I
about?
will talk about Top first. Top. He's kind of on and off the board. The man is trying, once again, A for effort. Last week he put in a good showing. This week I'm kind of questioning how well he did. He didn't really need to lose Mammo Swine early. He ran Psychic over Psyshock again against a team.
Again.
Again, as a team,
Again.
there's a big special defensive wall on Miguel's team.
Again.
Again, I mean, especially Tentacruel is just. I don't know why you wouldn't run Psyshock. Uh, I don't know. That I think just is a huge reason why I see Top just. I made him fall this week because there are just some bad choices on his part. I see the man planning, and I really enjoy his videos, his content. It's great. It's just he needs to settle down and just get a couple better plays in there, make a couple smarter choices when he prepares his teams. And I think if he can do that, then he'll be a lot better off going forward. And who knows, maybe if he gets a couple crits along the way, maybe he'll jump back into contention. What do you think? Where'd you put him?
Number 9. I'm going to preface this real quick. Tup didn't lose for sake of just his own planning. Hacks was really against him as well. And that's unfortunate, especially with the. I mean, yeah, he won last week because of like 2 critical, well, literally critical hits. But outside of that, like you said, it was some really unnecessary plays, some really just bizarre plays. Turn 1, for example, losing Mammo Swine. When he said in his commentary, I wasn't expecting predictions that early. That's not really a sentence that translates well with me, especially when going for the fighting move, right? Was it a fighting move?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. It wasn't necessarily a bad play because Miguel could have also been predicting his Heatran switch.
Yeah, that's
Or
kind of like Miguel's middle ground play.
yeah, exactly. And again, there it is, middle ground play. Yeah, the crit HP ground, the let's see what else, the missed toxic on his end, the burn from blue flare, the lost speed tie against Mence, the special attack drop by Florges with Moonblast. Okay, culmination of all that sucks. That really does suck. But it's the core things. The crit psychic wouldn't have even had done as much as a Psyshock would have done to Tentacruel or against Florges, especially with how high Mega Zam special attack stat is. Again, running a special move against a team that has a really good special wall, when it gets an attack that hits physically but it's specially based. He did it against Cooper. Now he did it just against Miguel. It's just not good planning. And at the end, when he was forced to belly drum with a Zoomero against a full health Tentacruel, I don't know, man. Just bad. It's bad. I'm really hoping I'm fighting for him to do better, and I want to see him do better. But damn.
I mean, yeah, it's like we said, we don't want to see Shady think about HP Fairy twice. I feel like that's basically what Tup did right here. He didn't learn from the first time.
Yeah.
About the whole special wall and Psyshock thing. I'm Shady obviously learned about HP Fairy. That's great. Out of the way. We don't hold that against him. But when he does this again, or when Tup does this again, that comes back to haunt him a little bit in the rankings.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are my thoughts, and that's why I docked him down too, and he fell to number 10.
Next week, your week.
All right. At number 9, I had Crimson. Okay, and you had Tup at 9. Actually, would you want to talk about why you had Geo at 10 first?
Yeah, sure, no problem.
All right.
Geo, I'm moving up for the sake of who is below him, and that's nothing against how he played. I think Geo's team this week stacked up against a very well-constructed team on Dan's end. I think that Geo did a great job in terms of staying in it, Now, my reason I'm keeping Geo so low, and you could probably contest this, and I'll argue with you until, I'm blue in the face, but I'm keeping Gio low because of the fact that he couldn't get a foothold again on his team, that he DC'd again, and that the game went to a timeout, in which case he forfeited. Yeah, okay, I moved him up one spot. That that's not going to mean anything this week just because he's at number 10.
Hmm.
But the team again wasn't. It was bizarre. Like it wasn't. It didn't seem coherent to me. That Gudra set was pretty much on. It was on par with like Spacey Unnecessary. What was it? It was Detail, Toxic, Acid Armor, and Rest. Was that the move?
I think so.
Yeah, that beyond bizarre. Pushing to get to +6 with Acid Armor Gudra twice in the match. Also, I mean, I guess he was expecting Terrakion to come in earlier, but it's just weird and incoherent, and I can't keep him. I can't bring him up much higher because of how the other people played. Yeah, Tup is what was it? Tup was above him, but that's because I just saw more potential out of Tup's team than I saw out of his team.
Hmm.
Now, that's not to say how he's going to do, in the future, but it's just how I'm looking at it right now. And again, hope it changes. But as I'm concerned, what I'm seeing right now is, it's not really mind blowing. It's just,
Yeah, and I'm sort of in that. I had Geo at 8. Uh, I'm sort of in that same boat where everyone below him, I think, is just they're not as well off as Geo is. Yeah, his record doesn't show it, but I feel that he's been probably prepping the best of the bottom 4 or 5 teams or whatever we have down there. I feel like this week was a big week in terms of he proved that he can play with people who are in the top half, being Dan especially. I thought there was a very good chance that had that match continued, had he not had to take that forfeit, he could have won if he just put a little bit more offensive pressure and fought for a win that way. Once again, timing and the DC, yeah, probably would have timed out, but I feel like if he played his cards right, he actually could have had that win. Not saying he would have, not to take anything away from Dan, but I feel like there was something to be had there for Geo, and I feel like it could have possibly been his first win. So I mean, I can't give him the credit of a win, but that's why I would move him up because I've been thinking rather, his preparation and his effort in making the team and on the battlefield, I feel like that has just triumphed over the people below him. It's maybe it's not the best measurement, but once again, we are comparing the bottom 4 to the number 8. So, I guess maybe it's a fair comparison, maybe it's not. You guys are free to disagree. That's totally fine. Tom, what are your thoughts on Geo?
we're also free to disagree. Let's not just leave it to them. I just think that if he cleans up the DCs, I know that that doesn't necessarily affect how he's battling. Cleans up the DCs, I don't think there could be as much like min maxing or even just like variance that might not happen the first time around. Fix that and you move on. I don't know. I think he can do better. I think he's in that like middling a limbo almost. He can play better. There's a chance that we're seeing that potential to play better. It's just we need to really see that spark to give him that push into the rest of the season, basically.
Yeah. Okay. No, I don't have too much else to say on Geo.
I don't.
I just think if he can keep up good planning and make a couple more good plays every game, then I think he'll be at least on the right path to a victory. And I think he has an attainable one against the Sawsbucks this week.
Yeah, that definitely that.
So, all right, we should probably go to Crimson now, who I had number 9, and Tom had at number 8.
Basically, we're all caught up now.
All right, cool. Yeah, Crimson. I mean, that he played Mulone. It was a game. Yeah, it
It was
was.
a game.
And I will admit, he managed to knock off the Toxic Orb for a third week in a row. And I thought at the beginning of the game, Crimson actually played fairly well. I mean, there was a lot of hacks going his way, but a couple of moves like that, playing around with Mega Sableye and Substitute, that was not that bad. It
Regular
just...
Sableye.
Did I say Mega Sableye?
You did.
I meant Sableye, sorry.
I know.
I just feel like later in the game that sort of fizzled out a bit. Then Mulone got the upper edge and Crimson really never took it back. He played poorly around Dragalge, in my opinion. Why wouldn't you save Clefable for it? I mean, that's kind of... I think that's your best check to it. If you carried an Assault Vest Clefable or something like that, yeah, it's a poison type too, but you probably can outspeed it, and I don't know, do something with it. Set up Calm Minds in its face. I don't know.
Yes, Calm Mind, Assault Vest, Clefable. Oh, just the best set.
You just need something to be able to take Assault Vest, or just Draco Meteors in general, not even Assault Vest. Just something. I don't know, I just feel like Crimson had so much potential at the beginning of the match, and it sort of fizzled out, and it just amounted to Mulone winning. Once again, it wasn't a bad match, I can't say it was, but I feel like there was a lot for Crimson to improve on later in the match, especially his handling of Dragalge. I think that could have been a lot better. What are your thoughts?
There was a match. That's the best way I'm going to describe it. He had the momentum when he knocked off the Toxcorp for the third week in a row. But on the same token, Mulone is now 3-0 when he's had the Toxcorp knocked off a Gliscor. So go figure. Where he really lost his momentum was when he missed the 2 Hydro Pumps with Keldeo, or when never mind. Mulone had Keldeo, my bad. But Crimson did hit 2 Stone Edges and a Hammer Arm. But he never got a chance to do that against Weavile because he played a little bit too safe, and that was kind of his downfall. But really what was his downfall was the nothing to take a Draco or a Sludge Wave from a Dragalge. Dragalge in this format, especially with adaptability, when we were in the league, Danza and I, we didn't see that because Dragalge A was never drafted and B didn't get adaptability when we were in the league. If it did, it was last season. And
yeah, it was season 3 it ended up getting it, but no one ended up actually getting it.
Because we know why. But the point is, once Dragalge came in for free and decided to just literally wreck something, it was over because nothing was taking a Draco, and if Clefable was alive to take that Draco, it wasn't taking a Sludge Wave because I'm not sure Clefable can really do anything to a Dragalge, especially an adaptability one. I just think Crimson, he had potential, but his team didn't quite support what he was trying to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just taking a quick look. His team was offensive, all things considered, but letting Goth go down really quickly after it did one thing, but it still had the potential to outspeed and kill something else. Letting Clefable die early, and then just having to rely on Sableye with those substitutes. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was a weird match.
Yeah. I feel like if he brought a specially defensive Skarmory Clefable core, he could have actually got around Dragalge pretty well.
There you go. That's a really good point. I mean, hey, maybe he was scarred from using Skarm against Dan when he had that Mega Sableye, but that's 1 week, and maybe he was just scared away from the Keldeo and the Talonflame, being free switches or having Weavile be a free setup on it. I don't know, but like you said, it's just.
I mean, I'm thinking about it for him basically in 2 minutes here, and I feel like that could have worked out better than the game plan he put together for Dragalge.
Maybe he just needs to account for more options, and not just be very scoped in on one idea, and kind of broaden that scope to give him some more room to play with.
Yeah,
I guess.
And I will give Crimson some credit. Yeah, he's sitting at 9, but he has got better since week 1. A little bit, baby steps, but they're there.
Hey man, he's a new guy, so cut him a little bit of slack, like an inch. That's it, no more.
Yeah, definitely. Alrighty, I'm all set with Crimson. You done with Crimson?
I'm done with Crimson. I'm done with you.
Alrighty, in my number 7, I had Jon. Tom had Dan, which I should probably talk about Jon first, since that's probably a bit easier.
Talk about Jon first.
Yeah. Jon got a big victory over Nips, and I think that's great. He got that first win. I know I said I would probably move him up next week. But then I realized something. He not only did he just only beat Nips, who's number 12, but there are 6 people ahead of him who have better records, mostly better differential. They've beat better opponents, and there it's tough to put him up there. I didn't think I could move him this week because everyone else above him I think is in better shape right now. Yeah, Jon is doing good for in his own mind, and that's great. I'm really happy for him. But I can't move him up right now because I feel like the balance of the top 6 is it would just be disturbed at the moment. I can't seem to find anywhere to put him. That if that's the best way of putting it, that's the best way of putting it. I can't find a place for him up there right now. There are only 6 slots, and I got 7 people that I think are top contenders right now. He gets the 7th one due to him only beating Nips, who's number 12, and his 1-2 record. There was something that was said last season. Congratulations, Jon. You 5-0'd Nexus. We're all very proud of you. Now you just replace Nexus with Nips, and that's sort of my mentality right now. Yeah, that's kind of all I had to say about it. I thought Jon did play well, though, and it's a step in the right direction. I wouldn't be surprised if he moves up somewhere along the line next week, the week after. We got to see some big wins out of him, though. I'm hoping that he can at least take 1, if not 2, of the matches from Cooper to assert his dominance in that division. So, all right, you should talk about Dan because that's going to be there are going to be tons of comments about it in the comment section. So go.
Bring it on, trolls. Bring it on. Okay, Danny boy. Dan. That game. There are very few things in terms of watching videos that get me riled up. Last week, for example, against Shady, that got me riled up because if I was on the receiving end of that team, of that game, being in Shady's position, yeah, I probably wouldn't play Pokemon again. And there's been, there are very few games, like I said, that get me emotionally riled up. This game, I think, timeouts to me, yes, I was a culprit of a timeout. It was week 1, and it was a bad game. It was a bad game on both our ends. It was there was no real momentum, and I'm going to use that same point for this match. There was no momentum in this match. Dan relied far too much on his good core. It's a good core to have. But when you have a team that has Terrakion, that literally punches holes through teams, but you didn't bring it out, regardless of if he had a scissor or not. When he had the chance where Scissor was so low along with Mega Swampert, and then he also had like Gudra, like even if you just go for that rock move against the thing that quad resisted it, or against Scissor, or against predicting the Moltres, something dies with a Terrakion. My issue with that match is that there's no reason why that match should have went to a timeout. I don't like timeouts. I think Dan's team is kind of built for a timeout because, all right, you have a Rotom Wash, which the way he was using it was pseudo defensively, pain splitting, burning, and then getting the hell out of there. You had a Gorgist, which was what was the leech? It was the leech seed, right? It was leech seed.
Yes.
Okay, there you go. It's not a killing version. And then you have a Chansey, which is the fattest thing to ever hit the metagame.
Yeah, watch your language. We don't want to be called sexist here.
And then you didn't even bring in Terrakion. The thing that could have, like you said in your planning, cleaned up late game, you didn't even use. And I'm sorry, Nidoqueen is not a good offensive mon. It is a good balanced mon, but is it not a good offensive mon? Yes, it killed a +6 Gudra with a crit. Round of applause. Again, you get a crit. And Mega Sableye is a wall. This team was built for a timeout, and I don't think a timeout is a good way to get a victory, especially with a forfeit. Yeah, you gotta forfeit. So
yeah,
I'm moving you down, and you can come at me and tell me I'm wrong, like you did last week in the comments. Go for it, because frankly, you know what? You can say that whatever I say is pointless, or that whatever I say doesn't matter. That win's a win regardless of a crit. You got a nice game changing crit against with Nidoqueen against a +6 defense Gudra with Ice Punch. That's all fine and dandy, but without that crit you weren't staying in to get those hits, and in a way you were hoping for that crit. Um, I don't know. I had a lot of vehement feelings for this match. I just think that it was kind of a garbage match, and it gave Dan it put Dan at 3-0 for this season. He has one win out of hacks, one win out of a lucky forfeit, and that's where I'm going to leave it at. You know what? From now on, I want to see some like substantial wins, not wins out of hacks, not wins out of you were given that match because someone DC'd twice. No, we're done with that. This is week 4 now. We're
Yeah.
gonna move on. You got to play some. You're gonna be playing some better people. You're gonna replay Shady. You got to play Miguel. You got to play Jon. I haven't looked at the schedule, so I don't know if they really does play those teams.
He's
But the
bound to play
bottom
at least one or two of them.
Exactly. But the bottom line is you'll be playing some teams that are actually substantially good, and I want to see if he can really hang with the big guys. Yeah, he's at number 7. Yeah, he's below Jon. But do I think that Jon, Cooper, Miguel, Hank, whoever else I have above him has more potential? Yeah, I do, and I'll still think that until he proves me wrong. I want to see his gameplay show me that he's worth putting up where some other people might think he belongs. Because right now, I don't think he belongs up there. Boom.
Mm. I mean, I agree with some of your points, but not to that extent. I'm not as hard on Dan. I do think that I think he has been planning relatively well. I'll give him that, and that's kind of why I didn't drop him too much. Yeah, he kind of benefited from the forfeit. There's no doubt about that. I actually think Geo could have maybe even won
Yeah.
had there been an extra 10 minutes and had there been no timeout. But I will say he has been putting in some good been putting in some good planning, and he's in a much better shape than Jon is on the board right now. Somehow this man can get wins. I don't know how, but I don't know how. In a lot of ways, I can put a person who just is 3-0, gets all these wins somehow in the bottom 6. It's sort of like, okay, in baseball, you're batting 250, but your on base percentage is, I don't know, 600 somehow. How could you that's you're walked practically every other time seemingly. I mean, I can't put him down low when I do see something there. He's a great wall core. Yeah, it's stally, and there's no doubt about that. I think we all knew that going into the season, but those are sort of my thoughts. I only moved him down one because he benefited from a forfeit, but beyond that, he's not as bad as the people, not bad, but he's not in as bad a shape as people through who are 12 through 8. And Jon, I think, just has a little bit of catching up to do. If Jon catches up, though, Dan can move down to 7 pretty easily. So I'll give that a couple more weeks. And I do agree with what you said about Dan. I would like to see how he does without the hacks or the forfeits to back him up. And I'd like to see him play a Miguel, a Cooper, a Hank, something like that. We'll see how it goes. Those are
Now,
my thoughts. Not as harsh as yours, though I do agree partially with a lot of your thoughts.
now let me just say this. Okay, with this season, unlike our previous seasons, 6 teams are making the playoffs. So half the league is gonna make the playoffs. Being at number 7 is not like a giant shot to his team and what he's done so far. 7 is the cusp of the playoffs. Right now, he is at the cusp of my playoffs. I don't see him being really realistically contending with the other teams. Like I said, I want to, and I think he can. I just want to see it. That's it.
Alrighty. I think we've said our pieces about Dan, especially you. I know yours is. People are going to be bad mouthing you in the comments.
Bring it on, guys. Bring it on. Got my fingers ready.
Hey, you didn't say anything sexist in there, so I don't think you can receive any stupid
Hey, man.
comments, at least.
Not yet, man. You wait.
Yeah, that one guy, seriously. Alright, anyways.
Guy.
Alright. I had Shady at 5. Tom had Jon at 5.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about Jon at 5?
Yeah. Jon, got a good first win. I'm gonna keep this quick. Good first win. Good planning. I think he played well around the Snorlax in that useless beginning. It sucked that Mega Venusaur got that first turn para, but that's pretty much what Body Slam does. His saving grace was Nip staying in behind the sub against Sylveon, Hyper Voice. It was a good Sylveon set. The defensive Sylveon really does work. I just think that Jon needed this win. Yes, it came at behalf of Nips, who is essentially the Nexus of this season, plus or minus some better team and some planning. But the real point of it is that Jon got a good first win. I think from here is kind of a springboard, or at least I hope it's a springboard and not like a trampoline or like a single step. Point is, good first win. Can see where he's going to go from here. We'd like to see where he's going to go from here, and hopefully he continues to move up and doesn't really let the season fall through based on his first 2 weeks. That's pretty much it.
I had Shady at 5, as I said. Okay, I moved him up 1 from last week. That's half his doing, half Dan just moving down 1 because of that forfeit. I do think Shady played very well against Steve overall. I like the competitive Milotic. I do think, though, he did benefit from Steve's mistakes, and there's no doubt about it. I think if he had not got rid of Miltank early, it would have been a little bit more difficult for him to win. Although, I think Shady just had the upper hand through at least half the match, the second half of the match. So, I can't really dock him too much for that at all. Actually, I move him up because I think he got out of that predicament pretty well, in my opinion. Yeah, he had U-turn and SD and Mega Scizor, but I've seen that set before. Because if you go for U-turn, you all of a sudden assume that he doesn't have Swords Dance, so it kind of acts as a bluff. I think maybe knockoff or superpower could be more effective. But I can see why he did it. It's kind of something you don't really expect, in my opinion. So I got to give him some props for that. I will give Shady all the credit in the world for... I said some not so great things about him pre-rank, saying he's going to have the Shady problem where he's not going to... Or there's a chance he might not prep very well. He's going to spend 5 minutes on it. And I didn't think that would happen per se, but I was like, that could happen. He's proved me wrong, and I'm really glad about it. Kudos to you. And I think he's a serious playoff contender. 2-1, could have maybe been 3-0, depending on how some damage rolls and hacks went last week. Good job, Shady. Overall, a couple minor things this week, but nothing too noteworthy in my opinion. Overall, great performance. Good superior sweep. Look for big things out of him going in the future. He's at my number 5 right now, which is well within playoff range. What are your thoughts? You had him at 4, so...
I moved Shady up a lot, mostly because of the people that he was behind didn't show me as much this past week. At least, as in, the wins weren't as spectacular or really impressionable with me. I think that his planning was good. Yeah, U-turn and Bug Bite. Swords Dance was a little bizarre on his Mega Scizor, but as you just said, it definitely kind of leaves like a presumption with your opponent against Steve. But on this week, Steve, it wouldn't have necessarily been a big game breaker. But regardless, I think that his competitive melodic set, it was good. It was effective. I think that he was saved by a lot of over predictions on Steve's end. Nothing against him. He played well. And once he saw what stopped his superior, once that the Miltank had been KO'd, he just moved on through and understood what his win condition was, and got ahead with a nice 5-0 victory. And in this league, of 5-0 is pretty incredible. 5-6-0, that's pretty much like a week and a half boost in terms of differential against whoever's 2 or 3 in your division. So props to him, and go Mankeys.
Hey, the comment section loves you now.
Not the Dan side.
Hey, the Shady side, though.
Hey, the Shady side.
Hey, that used to be one of his channels. I don't know. That apparently died. But anyways, getting off topic.
Well,
All right. My number 4 was Mulone. He stays in the same spot as last week. Overall, solid-ish match from Mulone. Pretty cookie cutter. I do think he was hindered by some hacks in the beginning, but I think the way he played Dragalge, and partially through Crimson's inability to handle Dragalge, I feel like that really helped him out. Yeah, like I said, like you said earlier, 2 Hydro Pump misses. The Toxic Orb being knocked off of Gliscor for the 3rd week in a row, that hurt. but the way he uses Dragalge and Weavile. Weavile, what does he get? 3 KOs this week?
Weavile's incredible this match, this year so far. Oh my god.
It is the MVP so far. It's 8.
It's awesome.
It is 8 KOs. So that is awesome. I think the way he's using it is excellent. And you know what? I started him out at 12 in my pre-draft ranking. I was like,
You did,
he's
that's
a big
right.
channel. He's not even gonna bother watching these videos. He's not gonna prep it all. He's just gonna bring standard stuff every week. Oh, I didn't say that was a for certain, but those were my first impressions. He's been proving me wrong. I mean, granted, he's not bringing a Fire Blast Gyarados, but he's making diligent plays. He's making smart plays, and I think he's planning enough for him to be doing very well. So I give the guy a lot of credit. He's been succeeding, and there's no doubt it. You can't doubt his success. 4 is a great spot for him to be in, while it's not always apparent where he's planning and where he's not. He's doing something right to be winning 3 games in a row. And he's going up against Miguel next week. That's his big test. If he can beat Miguel next week, then I think it's safe to say that he'll most likely be a playoff contender. And who knows, he could move into my top 3. But overall, Mulone is in great shape so far, except for Vivillon. Who knows, maybe Vivillon will enter 1 game this year. But except for that, Mulone's team is very solid, very balanced, and I'm liking it so far.
Surprised it hasn't been dropped in free agency yet.
Actually, that's a good point.
Yeah, right.
He can do that if he wants.
But I think that yes, he did bounce back from some pretty crucial hacks. I do also think that he did what's it called, adaptability. Dragalge ain't nothing to fuck with. You know, he brought it in, killed something else, and just with its natural bulk, you know, it lived whatever it needed to, and just did. And then he had Weavile quick and strong just to clean up whatever remained. I know Weavile is now, like you said, the current MVP, and rightfully so. The way he's using it is more effective than I expected, but not as surprising as I might think. I like Weavile. I always have liked Weavile. I never really found a fit for it on my teams specifically, but the way he's using it, fantastic. Better than Talonflame, right?
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, screw Talonflame. Who needs it?
Yeah, it's not nowhere near as good as like Mega Pinsir in the format.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So, alrighty, Mulone, I think, is he in the books?
He's in the books.
Alright, so we are literally in agreement for these next 3, but I had Hank at number 3. He moved down 2 this week. He got destroyed, okay?
Oh yeah.
There's no sugarcoating that. Granted, it was against Cooper, and Cooper is a top contender, so I can't dock him too hard for that. It's not like he got 6-0'd by Nips here.
Oh, that would be embarrassing.
If he got 6-0'd by Nips, I think I would have moved him down to 12.
Nah, man, 14. He's in the grave at that point.
He goes off the scale. But thankfully, it was only against Cooper. Yeah, I feel like there were ways he could have at least got the differential down, but then again, hacks didn't really help him either. I don't think Hank considered Aggron. I don't think he considered speed creeping with Aggron. I think he might have played Magneton a bit recklessly, not considering that. One of Hank's quotes, "I don't have enough power to break walls." That's just a testament to Cooper's playstyle.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, my opinion, Hank should have thought of something that would have been able to break those walls. I don't know what, but if it's Super Fang, great. If it's Toxic Stalling, great. I don't know what he would have to do, because I can't look at it in 5 seconds and tell you what he should do, because that's going to take a whole half hour to think about. But I don't think he needed the offensive-minded strategy this week. I think he needed the slow type of defensive play in order to take on Cooper. That's what I did when I played him in Season 2. Yeah, it was Season 2. That was what I did the whole game, and guess what? We 6v6 timed out. But you know what? I ended up getting the win. So, it worked out. That's, I think, the way for people to beat Cooper, is by beating him at his own game. And it sounds ridiculous with that stally type garbage. Go Go hashtag that again. But you got to beat fire with fire sometimes. That's my opinion.
Yeah, or garbage with garbage, however you want to describe it.
Or trubbish with trubbish.
Right. Okay, you gotta understand. All right, so Aggron, you can put 252 speedy Vs, you can put 252 tacky Vs, but you gotta account for the other 252, and that's in fear, because Aggron is fearful. Aggron is scary. When you don't plan for Aggron, it's like not planning for Mega Pinsir, but Aggron is much scarier. Um, he didn't account for it, I didn't account for it, and he essentially got the same effect. Aggron didn't get as high as a kill death ratio, but the same effect happened. He got a nice, easy 6-0 against a team that, in all things considered, very prominent and very effective. Cooper just played. He played a very balanced. He checked everything that Hank had, and when Cooper says in his video, I have too many combinations of Mons to bring against Hank, or that he considered all 11 at one point. There's nothing better than that feeling when you know that your entire team can take on another team, another very prominent team such as yours. There's nothing wrong with that. Cooper, besides that, he like we said before, he has been very effective in knowing his HP numbers. He knew he could take a side shock from Latias against Blissey, and both times he lived very low percentages of health, and he just soft boiled backed up. That's important. That is crucial playing. That's crucial knowing what your team does overall throughout an entire match, not just in the moment. Hank thought he could live a head smash. That's hilarious, because I thought the same thing. That's also hilarious. Hank saying he didn't have enough power to break Cooper's walls. So
Yeah, and once again, that's why I said don't try to beat Cooper with offensive power. Go with something indirect, toxic, super fang, something.
yeah,
And that's a message for everyone, not just Hank. Everyone.
Right. And I realized I did kind of combine those two, Hank and Cooper, but in my notes here, it was just back and forth. I think one of Hank's big mistakes, taking off Lumberry on Infernape. I really liked that when he was planning. I really did like that. I asked him about it in the comments. I was like, "What did you take it off for?" He considered Focus Sash at the last minute. Lesson for the future: don't ever do that. Whatever your first inclination is, unless there's a really solid reason someone points it out to you and says, "Hey, that's a bad idea because of this," don't ever take anything off. Don't ever change something that you have planned for. That Lum Endeavor set, I liked it. I really did. But bottom line,
yeah,
Cooper had control, and I just talked about both of them. So yeah.
Hey, story time, very brief. I almost was going to change Fire Blast Gyarados. Don't forget that and how successful that was. 5 minutes before the match, I was like, "Am I crazy? I'm throwing a special attack on a Gyarados, and it's probably not even gonna work. This is ridiculous." But you know what I said to myself? I might not need it, I might not use it, but you know what? It's there if I need it. What is the fourth coverage move going to be for Gyarados? What am I going to need it for? Nothing. I may as well just carry Fire Blast and hope it works out. You know what? That's a lot of the mentality you need for the GBA. You want to have good intentions. That was for hitting Mega Scizor. It wasn't just thrown on there for no reason. But you got to take some risks sometimes. And maybe that's fighting fire with fire, like I said earlier. Maybe that's running an obscure coverage move that you're not sure if a person's going to bring something. But whatever it is, that's you got to account for that in the team building process.
Amen.
And as a result of that rash decision not to get rid of Fire Blast Gyarados, or almost decision to get rid of it, we had a championship team. So
there you go.
There's a story.
For what it's worth, I did take that into consideration. I did bring Fire Blast to Mega Gyarados one time. But that's not the point. We should talk about number one, or your number two, whatever you want to do.
All right, it is my number one. It's Miguel. Both of our number ones, Miguel. There's no question. This man averages plus 4.67 every week. For the past 3 weeks, that's his average. So he's at plus 14 right now, 0-3. This man literally has been seemingly putting in half the effort and has been getting double the results. How can I even?
That's the best way to describe it.
Yeah. So imagine if this man puts in all his effort, 100%, and all of a sudden he's going to be 6-0ing people every week.
Yeah. Take the control away
That's a
from this
hyperbole,
man.
but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, take the control away from this man because, like, he has all of it, and no one has stopped him. We've said this multiple times. When he shows up to a match, all he does is he just has a good plan, he executes it, and he lets the team he made determine his match. It's not he doesn't get trapped up inside his own head, doesn't get too emotional, doesn't rely on, anything that he didn't plan for himself. And he's great at late game. If anything does go wrong, he's still calm and collected and says, "Hey, I have this because of Mega Lop or because of Hydreigon or because of one of my Florges, my walls, or whatever it is." Props on Miguel. I didn't quite have the same type of confidence as I do now, but the more he plays and the more I watch him, amen. Great playing, and week to week, it's a pleasure to watch.
yeah,
Bottom line.
certainly. And you know what? Give him all the credit in the world because, as you all could see in the week 2 top 5 video, if you decided to read the little ticker, yeah, he lost his beanie and he was nervous about his matchup as a result. He still won. So he doesn't even need the beanie to win anymore.
Doesn't even need the beanie.
So, bottom line, this man is the guy to beat, and he's the number 1 for this week. He plays Mulone next week. I think that's going to be the matchup to watch because Mulone is the dark horse. He's the underdog, but I think it's a very able matchup for him.
Oh, wait, quick thing. Hey, Cooper. You're not number 3. You're like 2.3. So, before you go ahead and call some witchcraft on this, you're number 2.
I put Cooper at 2.13, so...
Okay, there's a 3 in there, for what it's worth.
Yeah. All right, so maybe Cooper won't lose this week since we put a 3 in there.
Maybe the Hex Gods won't wreak havoc on the entire league, but who knows?
Maybe he'll miss Head Smash.
Oh, no. What do you do that for? Never miss Head Smash. Okay, that's it, guys. We've talked for far too long, but we enjoyed ourselves.
Yeah,
so if
as
you
we
have
do every
any-
week.
Exactly. If you have any comments and concerns, please leave in the comments. I look forward to arguing with all the people who don't agree with me about Dan. But that's why I am the Skip Bayless of the power rankings, because I like being controversial, and let's talk about it. I love talking. Well, typing. Close enough. Same thing.
Yeah, and you know what? If you think Nips should be number 2 and you think Steve should be number 0, go ahead, comment it, say it. I'll gladly respond. So
I'm going to tell you you're wrong and tell you why, but I'll damn sure respond.
yeah.
So, hope you guys enjoyed. See you next week. Bye.
Yeah, sounds good, guys. Rate, comment, subscribe to the GBA channel, and hopefully to our channels, and peace out.
Yeah, bye.